And like we never hit record. Oh my gosh, Chris and Dan show. Chris, how's it going, man?
Going well, Dan. How you doing?
Good. I can't wait to do a book review for our channel.
You've been talking about that for like 3 weeks now. I know
Yeah,
you're
have you
real.
read that book yet?
I'm 40% through. I actually have it on the
Oh,
Kindle.
dude,
That one's brand new. I just bought it, but
is it
I got it
worth
on the
reading?
Kindle. Yeah, The Sovereign Individual. Yeah, I mean, again, I
You
bought
brought it
like
up, yeah.
I read Kindles because it's more convenient, but
Mm.
when I find a book I really like, I usually buy two physical copies to
Oh,
support the
wow.
author, but to also like give away strategically when I
Smart
run
man.
across someone that can use it. But yeah, I highly recommend. But yeah, Chris, it's going good. We got you've been keeping the channel more active. Thank you for that with your political rants and philosophical rants and occasional Corvette washing. That's always entertaining.
Yeah, I need to post some more content about the Corvettes.
Well, you still haven't, huh?
Yeah, I actually got a notification today from the attorney that GM's going to be calling me to set up a date to return it.
Dang, this is bittersweet, no?
Eh, I mean, they're giving me more money than I paid for it, so
And
Yeah,
have you and the wife decided what to get next?
I was
no,
just gonna ask.
we've been arguing.
Ah, okay. Is that why you're fasting?
Yeah, right. No, entirely separate reason.
Ah, okay.
You praying, yeah. Fast and prayer.
Yeah, there you go.
So who wants what?
It sounds like a rap bar.
I actually don't want another car, at least for a little while. I think car prices are going to fall. I mean, they're just having a hard time selling prices currently.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
probably, yeah, I would
Well,
agree with
that's a
that.
very responsible thing you're doing for the environment, so thank you.
who cares about the environment? But um, we have three German Shepherds, so Julie wants to be able to take all three in a car at one time, not a truck.
Mm,
She wants to get a Suburban. Have you guys checked those out? How
ah,
big those are?
Yeah,
yeah,
they're huge.
I love them, but they're so expensive.
We went and looked at one the other day, and I literally could sleep in it. I mean, laying
Yeah,
down flat
yes,
and everything.
yeah, yeah, they're huge.
Those are cool.
So
Do they
yeah,
have captain chairs like all around, or is it
you you can, but you lose a little bit of storage space if you don't
Yeah,
do a bench for the third row.
right.
ah okay.
So
But
it's
they do have that option.
four captains. You could do six if you want, I believe.
Wow, okay.
Or you can do two up front and two benches.
Yeah.
The Durango has four captains and then a third row, which is
Oh,
it's a
the
little
Durango
bigger.
does?
Yeah, the Durango has a third row.
Wow.
It's a little bigger than the Toyota. What was the one that we sat in the
So
Uber that one day?
so do I. That's what I
That's
have.
the one you have, right?
The
It's bigger
Highlander. There's
than
no
that.
what
There's more
two adults.
headroom.
Yeah, two adults cannot sit in that third row.
Dara and her mom did. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know how. They must be yoga masters or something.
well, the Durango's a little more headroom, a little bit more than
Yeah.
having sat in both. But yeah, it's not pleasant. Okay, so Suburban. And Joey, our resident in chief, um, basically
Headmaster
co-host.
Chief. There
Basically
we go.
co-host. Um, how's it going with
Almost.
you? Say hi to all the Nightwish fans out there.
Doing great. Yeah, another beautiful day in Southern California. Monday and
When are you leaving?
77 degrees. Yeah. Well, you never know. I don't know. Chris will probably leave before I do, but southern Orange County is quite nice, I have to say.
You have to be in the orange curtain behind the
Yes.
orange curtain.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah, I think that if you make decent money, Orange County is a decent lifestyle. So
What's decent for
Yeah,
Orange
I was
County
just thinking
standards?
that decent is completely different from a national level.
that is true. Yeah.
What
You
would
have
it
to
I
make
be?
mean,
you have to make decent money for California standards.
yes,
What
exactly.
would
So
that
that
be?
I would say if household income is above 250 or 250 and above, um,
In your
uh,
middle class?
yeah,
In California.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're middle class. Yeah, you're still complaining about stuff being high in price, and You
Yep.
know, you're still having maybe issues with the budget and food and housing and
Really?
insurance and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I completely agree.
yeah. So, you know, and I even have, you know, clients that, you know, are, you know, well above that and are still, you know, it depends on the size of home and the size of, you know, so, but I would say, yeah, you're living pretty, you know, okay at 250 and above, but it's still, I would say even at 250, you know, you're still, you're not, extremely comfortable. You're able to afford living in a nice area, having nice schools near you, having fantastic weather, safe. You know, now not all Southern California is like that, but where I'm living, um, yeah, it's a quite nice of a area to live. But I think that if you make, you know, $100,000, and then I don't think being here in California would be worth it. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's when you, this is just my personal opinion. Okay. So, I think that uh, if you're in that range, and there's nothing wrong with that, I'm not, you know, but I just don't think, you know, there's a cost benefit analysis to all of that. I just don't think the benefits of California outweigh, what it's costing you to be here. And just, you know, you're where you're going to be living is going to be probably an apartment or a townhome or a small condo. You're going to be really strapped financially, you know, um, and
For a
yeah. So
hundred thousand?
yeah,
so
yeah. Sorry.
so I saw two articles just recently. One was specific to Riverside, city of Riverside, and it said you had to make 146,000 a year to live there, right?
Dang,
And
and that's
it,
Riverside. Fuck.
yeah,
But there's
and
plenty of people living under that.
Yes, they are. Yep.
with aid, right? Most likely. But
Ah,
um the national average now to be able to afford your expenses, I think the average is like 108,000 a year you have to make as a household. So if you're
Mhm.
making less than that, which the average household income right now is like
Yeah.
78 nationwide, you're not making it, right?
Yeah.
You're having to go into debt to get by.
Yeah, and you're, you know, I have been a realtor and in real estate, a real estate investor, and helping landlords rent. I see a combination. A lot of times, two families are coming together. Not a lot of times, but I'm seeing more often as time goes on, group living, or the kids and the parents. It used to just be like one culture used to do this, but now it's more are doing this where the parents and the kids now are getting housing together.
even white people basically are doing
Yeah,
this.
I didn't say that, but you did.
I did. I don't mind.
They, even multiple cultures are doing that, and
Yeah.
and actually, if you look at it, like,
It's
you
actually
know,
not a bad idea. I mean,
correct.
you know what
Most of
worries
the
me about
world would
e-
actually would do it
everyone
like that.
in
Yep,
Romania? They do this too, and they're white.
exactly.
Chris will
Yep.
be the first to point out they're the whitest people out there. So it's something funny about the United States that makes it,
Independent.
yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah, once you leave the house, which is good in a sense, but now it's like, it used to be the mother-in-laws and the parents would come to the kids and live with them as they got
yes,
older. And the culture of the United States has completely turned that around. But most other cultures, it operates like that. So I think we are probably now forced into going back into what the rest of the world does with that, just
worse
with
than the
housing.
poverty. And we know what worries me about that 250K thing in Orange County.
What?
Uh, which is, I mean, the 250K in Orange County, they're living middle class, right? Like they're the new middle class.
Yes, 250. Yes.
But they're not townhome. They're like maybe more
S-
bigger
s-
house or
Smaller
Yeah,
to
three
mid-size
bedroom,
home.
3 bedroom, two
3 to
bath,
4 bedrooms.
you
Yeah,
know what
that's
worries me
3 to
about
4
two
that?
bedrooms.
2,000 square feet, maybe.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing that worries me about that. You used to, and this is why the three of us, we're getting into real estate investing, guys. Trust us.
Just-
Those people are not there's no money to invest outside of their
Correct.
IRA. I think one of the best things you can do is buy assets in the long run, whether it's Bitcoin, safe stocks, what if you can find those these days. Real estate, I think real estate's always relatively safe. But you
Long
can't
term.
really, like, at that level or less, you're not, like, how many of those people actually have money to invest? You don't.
Right.
And much less invest
Yeah.
in Orange County,
Right.
which leads us to our
Right.
topic today of investing out of state. So if you live in a blue state, chances are, why are the blue states the highest cost of living?
Usually
New
taxes.
York. No. He said blue state's highest cost of living.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big
So
part of it's taxes.
taxes. Oh, I thought you said Texas. I'm like,
No,
huh?
taxes,
Like,
taxes and regulation usually are a big component of that, at
but
least in my
did
opinion.
you say where, or are you saying why?
No, I'm
Why?
saying he asked
Oh,
why.
okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Okay, so if it's taxes and regulation,
Well,
then
and just services, right? They need, which is for taxes. Yeah.
sure. But also the
Yeah.
blue states, if I am not mistaken, because it's skewed, the few outliers drive up the mean, just like Bill Gates drives up everyone's net worth when he enters a room. You've got rich elites in these blue states that bring up the median income for everyone else. But
mhm,
it's not the reality of the situation. Because if Bill Gates leaves that room, you guys are back to being broke ass people, as soon as Bill Gates leaves. So it's the same thing with these blue states, I think, where um so anyways, the purpose of all this is to say if you live in one of these blue states, you might want to invest in a red state or just out of state somewhere cheaper. Like, doesn't matter
Right.
what the politics are necessarily. The swing states are really good places to invest, I think.
That's a good point.
Pennsylvania, Ohio, Arizona, Nevada. You're not voting, you're not investing for political reasons, but you're investing out of state because you can buy more with your money, and you don't necessarily have to leave the state that you live in for whatever reason. Like in California, people don't leave because of the weather. In places like New York, people don't leave because they like the amenities or whatever. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah. I think, I mean, isn't that crazy to think that, 250,000 is your middle class somewhere, I mean, that's just crazy, yeah, I mean, now there's going to be some outliers on there. Like there'll be some people that are listening to this that they might be in their 40s or 50s making 250 today or 300, and they're doing just fine, but they might have bought their house 15, 20 years ago
Right.
and now making that, and so their housing expense is dramatically lower than somebody like today. If you were to buy that same house that's 4 bedrooms, on two, you're going to feel what I just described,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's a little bit strapped. And I think, for somebody that didn't, for the longest time, I did not want to buy out of state.
Why?
Well, for the longest, this was prior to COVID. I did like California appreciation. I'm in this for the long haul. And so appreciation is important. And I at the time I was nervous about not knowing what's happening somewhere else. You have to rely on other people. Um, it just takes, it's a little bit more scarier because you don't live there. I don't know. I guess I just was intimidated by the fact that I had to do a plane ride somewhere and I'm highly dependable on someone else. And then the last thing, and then I'd like to hear what Chris has to say about this, but is, I had thought that it's, you either do California appreciation and barely very little cash flow, or like no appreciation and only cash flow, but the house is still worth the same thing you bought 20 years ago. Since COVID, we have figured out that no, like you can have a little bit of both it's not going to be extreme of the other, but you can have a little bit of both. Have more cash flow than California, and then a little bit of appreciation, but not as much as California. And so, but yeah, I just was scared of what I didn't know. I think at the time I only heard horror stories of people, buying out of state, and, the property manager did something wrong, and, that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that we were open to it. And I think, we'll say a little bit more why, but yeah, Chris, were you buying out of state prior to COVID? Did you ever consider that?
Um, I don't recall, honestly. I don't think so. Obviously, COVID spurred it on to consider. Um, but I've always been kind of hesitant on investing in California specifically, um, for a number of reasons. And I know Dan said politics, trying to avoid, but you do have to consider what's the likelihood of a regulation hurting your investment, in my opinion. So I've always been leery of that with California. I mean, now they're trying to pass sort of rent cap on properties in California. So it's things like that. And
Yeah, rent control was always like a city thing, but now they're
Right.
proposing statewide,
right,
Yeah.
right.
which is
So,
I don't think that's gonna actually pass.
well, the thing is, I actually read it, and it's not really all that devastating, even if you do own a property, because it's a substantial rent increase. You're not allowed to increase, I think it's 3 or 5% a year more than. So that's really not too detrimental. And of course, California is desirable. It's just how much does that change, right? In the last 2 or 3 years, they've had a net outflow opposed to an income of individuals. So the demand is made, and why prices are so expensive for real estate, partially because of that demand, right? And if
Right.
demand trails off, well, prices will fall. And and regulation makes it so it's very difficult to build new property, new housing in
Yeah, that is right.
California. So that also contributes to the cost. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that answers the question that
Oh
you asked.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, and actually, I think Chris, from my memory, I think you were one of the first to suggest buying out of state.
was I?
I think you were, because remember, we were going to buy in Anaheim, single family
Oh,
home,
yeah,
build an
that's right.
ADU. We were going to do that, and then it could have been Dan, but I think Chris, I think it was you that was like, hey, with this, just everything going on with COVID, because this was shortly after COVID.
Mhm.
We were just worried about, a tenant in California saying that they were affected by COVID and didn't have to pay for 8 months, and so,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, I think that, you were the first one, but yeah, I'm obviously I'm glad that we all came around, and obviously we'll share a little bit more, about that.
But
Dan,
going back to that, yeah, going back to that, and it was Chris's idea. It was a beautiful idea. But it would have worked out in hindsight in Anaheim too. That Anaheim house
true.
would have doubled in price
Yeah.
and basically been the same outcomes, just without the potential fear that comes with
Yeah.
owning in a blue state. But I mean, that's where you got to draw the line sometimes. Like, okay, there's all these potential possibilities, but what's likely to occur in this state is really not much change. Like Chris just explained that rent control statewide, well, it's not that big of a deal if you actually look at it. I don't see prices in California dropping. Uh, they're obviously gonna follow whatever the macro economy does real estate wise, but the first places that drop are usually the oversaturated places like Florida, Phoenix, Texas, maybe. There's places in Texas. As long as growth can't keep up with
Well,
the prices.
Austin, it seems like Austin has really done adjustment on pricing and,
Yeah.
and rents as well.
Yep.
Fortunately, we haven't seen that too much in Dallas. But yeah, Austin, it seemed like is having some adjustment there.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, how much do you really care, you being hypothetical, about adjustments? As long as the cash flow is there, why does it matter what the price is?
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about if you have a long-term, I think that's what makes us feel so much more comfortable is, if you have a long-term vision in mind and in that the property does have cash flow at the point of buying it, especially when you're brand new, um, you can just wait longer. If like right now there it sounds like there's a specific situation in Austin that maybe they overproduced and there's too many rentals now that are available for number of people that need to rent. And so they're having a little bit adjustment, but it'll come back. Austin's not going anywhere, nor is Dallas.
How do you guys view this investing in any state under the conspiratorial own nothing and be happy by 2030, which they're backtracking on now, but probably because they got caught, or I
Hmm.
I try to see things with two sides. Like I think they were trying to argue a greater point that we're in the sharing economy, we're in the gig economy, we're in the you don't need a car, Uber is gonna pick you up, or they were really using the automobile as an example of an asset that we have that we don't use that often. Like majority of the time it's parked somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
that
And
is right.
it's a inefficiency of an asset. Like that money could have gone somewhere else and you could have still gotten to your destination. Now, a lot of people on the right went crazy with this and said, see, they don't want you to own anything, which may be true. Or the other probability is, well, they're emphasizing that the economy is changing as a whole and everything's getting more decentralized. In either case, the way it's looking like it's shaping up is home affordability is very difficult to achieve for the average family individual, regardless of intention of powers that be. So, does that mean you want to buy more homes if you can? I mean, to me,
Yes.
the answer is simple, right? It's yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heck yeah.
What do
Well,
you guys think about this?
so that WEF message that you're referring to, I really think it's a little off topic what you're proposing, at least in my opinion. I really think what they were after was, and I remember in college, and I don't remember which class, so I can't provide the professor props, but I remember him saying that that
Lesbian dance theory?
no, it surely was not that.
Ah,
Um, I think it was sociology, if I had to guess, and his name was Mr. Quinn, but he's gone now. Um, I think it was him. He stated that the United States uses 80% of the world's resources, right?
Wow.
And it would take like 6 other Earth planets for everybody to consume the same or some ridiculous number, right?
Hmm.
I think that's really what the WEF was more after. It's, you know, Western countries can't consume the world's resources at the rate they're consuming. So I don't necessarily, which I could be wrong, you can't own anything. It's more you need to change your mind on how much you need, right?
right. But
Now, in
you
regards,
being the common citizen and not the elites that will rule the land and have the serfs working the
sure.
fields, as in
Yeah.
feudalism.
So yeah, you absolutely want to be a lord, if at all possible in that scenario. So yeah, you should own property.
Landlord, I think that's where the term originates from, feudalism.
You-
Yeah.
exactly. So yes, you should own as much land as possible. Just look at Bill Gates. He's the largest now farm owner,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. That's
incredible
interesting.
in the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
So
But no, I think the same. Yeah, you're gonna want to buy as much as you can. I mean, and there's so many others that are betting on that being correct as well. that are buying, hundreds and thousands of units of big apartment, luxury
Wow.
big apartment complexes because, for two reasons. One, as we progress as a nation, people like more and more convenience factor. And I feel like a lot of people are selling and really liking the ideas as far as to bounce around in places and location quickly and don't be bogged down by buying a house and
Yeah.
all of that. So there's that kind of like crowd out there, and it's getting way larger.
Well, that crowd's
So
becoming the entering peak earning years. I mean, I'm the oldest
yes,
millennial you can be, and
yeah,
that's the crowd we're talking about is
that's right.
the
Yeah,
millennials and the Gen Zs, and they do think like this. Like it's
yeah. Like, wow, I don't want to be bogged down. Oh, I don't want an AC bill that
right.
they make a big deal about and I'm happy when they make that because go ahead, rent, pay off my mortgage. I'm complete. You know what? You're right. Have the convenience of moving around every 6 months, but you don't. You probably stay there for 3, 4, 5 years,
Producers make
and
that into a short when we need to blackmail Joey, please.
yeah, exactly. So there's that, and then secondly, there's it's becoming so much more unaffordable to be able to own your own home, and so I just think as we progress, both those things are going to continue to be true, and there's just larger demand for rent, and so I want to be a part of that. I want to be on the flip side of the
Mhm.
people that want the convenience
So in
factor.
a way, it's contrarian view. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
a millennial, just like me. Chris
yeah,
is the gen right above it, but basically Gen X, millennial, Gen Z, they're kind of in this, they're sandwiched in this peak earning years right now and the next 30 years. Um, so this is the paradigm. We don't care about owning. We still gotta live somewhere, so there's gonna be
right.
landlords. We don't even care about driving cars. Like you guys both have kids, right?
We do.
Um, I hear kids don't even care about driving anymore.
Yeah, I've heard that too, which is just nuts.
Chris has kids that are almost well, one is driving age, the other one not
I have
yet, but
I have 4 kids.
oh yeah,
Three
the two that live
three
with you.
drive. Yeah. So 3 drive. The other one help everybody when she gets the license. But yeah,
Your oldest, your oldest son, or the son that lives with you right now. Um, he does he feel the same way about not wanting to be bogged down with a house? I know he's too young right now to think about that, but do his age group value ownership, or do they just
well, soon as he turned old enough to have a permit, he wanted to get a driver's permit, right? So he could learn to drive and got his driver's license as soon as he turned 16. So I haven't talked to him about owning a house. Well, no, I take that back. I have talked to him about that. He didn't. He showed indifference. The conversation. Um, he didn't really offer any opinion on the matter.
well,
And
in his
just
defense, he's 17, right? Or
he
18?
just turned 18.
18.
Um, and to
There's 30
cooperate,
year olds that there's 40-year olds that show indifference also currently.
absolutely, absolutely. And just to corroborate what Joey had said a little bit ago. So I looked it up. I was just curious. So the average American moves 12 times in their lifetime. So
Wow.
that means about every 7 years, a little less. So,
Yeah, yeah, I
so,
believe that.
yeah,
So but I think sometimes when you're young, you think oh, I might get over here, I might get that job over here, and sometimes you might, but I think that it's you tend to live longer in it because again, moving sucks.
it does.
I don't
100%.
know. Even when you're young, and I remember moving in college, and I didn't have that much stuff. It still sucks. So you don't necessarily want to sign up for that, but I think it's the peace of mind knowing that I could drop everything and to like go bounce over there, and that's fine. Okay, have that. And I think there's still a good amount like that luxury apartment building that has all like in Irvine, they did this before it was popular,
Yes.
where right by the Spectrum. You guys know exactly where I'm talking about,
Yep.
that you guys
Los
work with. So
Olivos and all the other
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that those type where you have higher income earners, because the rent there ain't cheap, but they want the services, they want the like literally like resort style pool, some
Mhm.
of them have a little grocery store inside.
Super, yeah, super
Yeah,
nice there.
so there is a market for that, of kind of high income earners, young entrepreneurs, young, tech people that are willing to pay $4,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. But then they can walk
And rising,
downstairs.
by the way, and rising.
Exactly. Yeah, rising dramatically. It's
Mhm.
not 2% there, So anyways, but so yeah, so there's that. And I just, yeah, I think that we're going to continue being more and more of a renter society in the future. And so yeah, I want to have more, assets that can be rented to. And
And
I
that
think
also
that
goes hand in hand with the fact that these millennials are not having kids at the rate that generations
they're
before
waiting.
them did, right?
Yeah.
So they
Yeah,
may
and
not
they're
need as
waiting
big,
longer.
they're
Yeah.
waiting longer, and they
Much
may not
longer.
need
Yeah.
as many. I mean, yeah, I'm an example
Right.
of that myself,
Yeah.
but they may not need that big a space until later. So,
Yeah.
like, it's funny because Irvine
That's right.
started that trend with the Irvine companies, but if you
Yeah.
go to like Phoenix, if you go
Mm.
to like the suburban part of Phoenix or any big city, I think in Dallas, I've
Scottsdale.
seen Scottsdale, Dallas, I've seen this in Dallas. They'll have new homes built, right? Like hundreds, new development. None of them are for sale. They all say for lease, and it
Mm.
says new homes for lease. So you could live
Dang.
in a brand new home but not
Maybe
own
that's
it.
what we should get into. Develop, or develop townhomes that you share one wall in the middle. I just made an offer on one of these in
Huh.
Idaho. I'll tell you guys about it in a little
Well,
bit.
BlackRock is behind a lot of this stuff. They own
Exactly.
a lot of these things. So something interesting because they wouldn't build it unless they know there's a demand. Like they're smarter people than us three on this
Yeah, and they wouldn't build
podcast.
it if they knew it couldn't be rented right away, and rent is going to go up over the next 30 years. And they would also, if the value isn't going to go up. So
Right. But
these guys are smart.
do you ever fear like as a small investor, because I do, um, that these guys, just like the Walmart, you know how Walmart came into every neighborhood in the 80s and 90s and destroyed the mom and pops. Like they would
Yeah,
open up right next to a liquor store, figure out everything they're selling and go like way cheaper on their stuff until that
they
liquor
did.
store went out of business. Then they
Yeah,
put the prices back to normal. Do you
yeah,
think these
they still
guys
do
would
that.
ever do something similar? Will they just flood the market with rentals and then push like the little ones out like us? And then they'll buy our houses too and then bring
They
everything back
could
up.
do that. They could do that. I just don't think so, because most of these guys are doing the luxury. Yeah, the majority of private equity and hedge fund managers and these big, they're going after hundreds of units. It's actually not that common that they go after single family homes or smaller residential properties. They want 4, 5, 600 unit luxury apartment buildings in a nice area right by Whole Foods and da da da. That's what they tend to go after. And so for guys like us, it generally they're not in our competition, because we have either single family home or we have like townhomes. Like, I do. I have 8 units, but it's more of a townhome style, to where you own the upstairs, or you don't own, but you rent the upstairs and downstairs. There are some inconveniences about the luxury apartment buildings. It's a apartment. There's hundreds of units. You have to park and walk a long way to it. It's a different type of tenant. So for us, like our single family home in Plano, it's a single family home, detached, privacy. It might not be brand new, but it's a single family home with parking, and you have some space and you can think. So it's a different type of tenant. But yeah, I guess thinking about it for the first time, if BlackRock and Blackstone started getting into I don't think that they could facilitate buying one-off single-family homes. They have billions of dollars at play. They need to buy big portfolios, but somehow if they figured out a way to solve the problem of buying one-off single-family homes, that could. But see, they also don't want their asset value to go down either. So if they wouldn't want to lower rents, because why would they want their rents to be lower?
Right. Maybe
Yeah,
it's not exactly
hmm.
the same analogy as
But it's a
Walmart.
good question, dude. That's a
Well,
good
Walmart,
question.
I always try to steel man the other side if I'm very bullish on something, just to
Yeah, you
see where
should.
I'm wrong,
Yeah.
possibly. And I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, it's bothersome when I can't find anything wrong. Like me and Chris had this debate about politics. Like
Mm.
obviously it's clear to me who's the better candidate, but what am I
Oh,
not
who?
seeing? I mean, you
Yes,
want to get us
yeah.
banned?
Yeah, I know, right?
I live in Arizona. It's clearly Kamala, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
I just saw a video. She said in the last couple months, 220 million Americans have died in the last couple months. That's 2/3 of
Yeah,
America.
that was a typo,
She
but
said
from
that.
her mouth.
No, she said it though
I know.
twice.
It
Yeah,
was a
Two
verbal
different.
typo.
Yeah. Like,
Verbal
think,
typo.
lady.
All
Oh
right, Steel
man.
Man, both of you guys, we're all bullish on investing in real estate. Steel
Yes.
Man, the other side
sure.
of not investing in real estate, but spending that money to
I
go on
like
a
this.
vacation.
Ooh.
So
And then I want to
that's
finish with why out of state. But yes, yeah,
Yeah,
I like this one.
because it
Go,
exposes
Chris.
potential holes that we're all blind
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
so did you say vacation? It's never, it's better to invest than just blow your money. That's part A.
But on your deathbed, what are you going to remember?
Sure. But you know what? If you invest now, especially your guys' age, you're a bit younger than I am.
Hey, old
Uh,
man, you're not that old.
no, but you guys are younger than I am. So especially Joey.
Thank you. You made my day.
No, but I mean, if you invest wisely now and assuming you live to average age, you should have a very pleasant last third of your life if you invest appropriately now, right? You're
Yeah.
prepared for it. You'll live nicely. You can take all the vacations you want. It's unfortunate that we have to get older to become financially stable. I wish it were the other way around. Like Mork and Mindy, for anybody who's familiar with that show, and I'm sure neither of you are, but
Ninu, Ninu.
oh, yeah. So you're born old, and as you age, you get younger. Now, wouldn't that be nice, right? So you can enjoy your lifestyle when you're older.
Benjamin
But
Button.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But to steelman the argument on should you invest, so there's,
What's the
and
case for like renting or
I'm going to make
using
it
this
right
money
now.
something else?
You're going to make it right now. So there's a ratio of 20. Um, if your rent that you can, as an investor, if the rent you collect is less than 20 the purchase price of an annual, right? So, for example, I'm already spreading it up, but if it's $3,000 a month for your rent, right? And that ratio is 720,000. If the property costs you more than 720, it's not worth buying. Okay. And vice versa. If you want to rent versus, and you're considering rent versus buying, um, if for renting you're paying over 20, don't, excuse me, if it's over 20 to buy it, then rent, right? Does that make sense?
Can you
So,
give the formula? Like
yeah,
3,000 a month mortgage is
I looked at,
36K a year, right?
I'd seen this a number of times and I looked it up, so I'll just read it. The price to rent ratio, take a monthly rent figure and multiply it by 12. So it's an annual number. Divide the purchase price or a similar property by the annual rent number. A ratio greater than 20 generally weighs in favor of renting, while a figure less than 20 generally favors buying.
Okay, I got
And I've seen this for 20 years, right? So the reason is because if price of real estate is overvalued or high or in a bubble, it'll come down, right? It just means it's more worthwhile to rent right now and you get it much cheaper later. Is what that number, at least historically, indicates. But, there's a number of properties I'm looking at right now, and as well, I'm sure you are, Dan, that are well, you can get more than 20 and a rental rate, right? More than that ratio, right? So an annualized ratio. Basically, in order to buy a property, you have to get 20 times 1 year, right? And the property has to be less than that, right? To make sense to buy it and rent it.
And Dan, so yeah, the flip side is to what you were saying to answer your question is you want us to make the argument of why
Why
continue
investing is
renting.
stupid.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, and not buying, whether it be an investment property or
Yeah.
or just continue leasing and not own your primary, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I would say, yeah, if I were to put myself into, the average young professional shoes, that's who I'm kind of like anticipating is this type of person is, yeah, again, the flexibility to, they might be, they don't know if they're going to be in their career in that specific job that long, and so they might need to relocate, for that job. So having the flexibility to, again, with the lease, it's easier to it's easier in their head to get out of a lease than to sell, or they see that if they have to make a sudden transition, that it's almost impossible to do something with a house that you might have previously bought a year or 2 or 3 ago. I would make the argument that's not that case, but I think this is what they're thinking. And again, just to like live today, right? Just to have fun. You are not guaranteed tomorrow, which is true. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. But just to, yeah, go on vacation, go to Vegas, go to New York, just kind of do what you want when you want with who you want. I think that people today want that now. They want to do what they want when they want to do it
They
now.
value experiences
Yeah,
over.
versus earning it is what I would say,
Mhm.
which is work hard, save a little. You might not be able to save 20 grand in 1 month,
Right.
but I think people just they're just they see that as almost unachievable to save money.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is the experience. So, okay, it's fine if you want to live the experience. The cost of that experience also increasing too.
It
So,
is. Dang, that's
you're
true.
gonna want to do it now. I mean, it's an asset in a way, just like everything else,
Yeah.
where it's increases in value,
Hmm.
like because of inflation, maybe
Oh
hyperinflation at
yeah.
some point,
Yeah.
a crash up, which is what Chris always talks about. So, I've tried to steel man it many times myself too, and I just keep coming back to it's generally better to be a contrarian and supply and demand. If less people
Yeah.
are owners, I'd rather be on that side.
For
Uh,
sure.
yeah. So out of state for California, maybe you're a Californian, you're a Bostonian, you're a New Yorker, and you're priced out. I mean, you barely can afford to live where you are, but you go out of state, you get jealous. Oh, these people I went to Idaho, and it's like a different planet over there. Nobody's worried about big city life. It's I don't want to live there, but maybe I want to invest over there because I actually do have some money that I could invest there. I can't do any investment here in New York or California, but in Idaho and Arizona, New Mexico, I can. Mississippi, I can invest. So it's clearly an attractive proposition. I think those are assets too, which is what people forget. They may not appreciate as quickly, but they're still assets. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, as long as you can, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but as long as you can cash flow it, uh, positive, I think it makes sense.
What if you can't cash flow positive, but you can still afford it?
Well,
It
you're,
depends.
yeah, you're in a situation, obviously if you can afford it, you're probably not in the average person situation where you may lose money on it initially, but eventually you'll be fine. That's a different scenario than probably who we're talking to here. I would assume. Where, yeah, I have just enough money I can make the investment, but is it worthwhile for me to do this? And they would be in trouble if they had to come out of pocket for anything. So in those situations, obviously you have to be cash flow positive. At least in my
Fizzle?
opinion.
Jay Fizzle?
um yeah, I mean, I say, I mean, yeah, we were just there 4 years ago where we were trying to buy in the location where we were. Not try, we were going to, and because it was more comfortable for us, but I think what we learned with buying out of state is that, other states have, most other states have better landlord rights
Policies,
compared to, yeah,
yeah.
policies. So if you happen to have a tenant that's working the system and trying to not pay rent, other states like Texas, you can generally get them out much quicker than California or New York,
Mhm.
and so I happen to like that. So we learned that, and that was a plus. Um, we also learned that something like Texas. So we are in Dallas. We have cash flow and we have appreciation too. Now we don't have the same appreciation as California, but I feel like we have both there. And I think, one of the most important things is that, the cost to acquire the asset was, a third of the price as what it was going to be in Southern California for us. So it was easier to get in the water out
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
state for us. So I mean, and there's more reasons on top of all this, but those are probably like the big three that were the most important for us. And again, the other great thing about, today, 2024, is there's so much communication and business done remotely now. So we have 2.5 years of talking with, our realtor, handymen, landscapers that go out there,
Through vendors.
vendors that take while they're at the property fixing, they take pictures of stuff around the house. Tenants pay all remote, their rent, I mean, it's so much easier, I think, today than 10
Yeah.
years ago to buy out of state. So for all
The
those,
world
I
is
think,
flat. The state, at least the country, is flat. Technology is a great enabler. And you
yeah,
would think technology would drive more people into doing this, but it doesn't look like there's an increase in investors. So, I mean, there's a new asset category altogether of crypto and meme coins and meme
yeah.
stocks. I think has taken a lot of this money out of real estate and into other things that are quicker, flashier, maybe
Well, I think
easier.
long-term real estate isn't sexy.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people our age and younger want to get rich in 6 minutes.
Right.
And so I feel like the only thing really sexy about real estate is flipping. I think that's why there's so many like flipping real estate
Right.
shows, um, because it's attractive to, oh, you buy something super cheap, you polish it, and then you sell it for 6 million. It's like, that's very attractive, and it's not that attractive to keep something for a number of years and slowly let it pay itself off, and the asset goes up. And so because of that, I think maybe that's why everybody's not jumping in the water and it's not so much more competition. I do think what you said about another asset class of crypto has something to do, but I would say there are still plenty of long-term real estate investors. There are, and I don't think we're at the point of there's so many we can't buy any assets. That's great. We want to be able to buy something, right? But I don't think that there's too many fish in the water yet.
No, and I don't
So,
think it's going to get competitive either.
Yeah.
and I would also add that there's a barrier to that. There's a entry barrier in terms of,
Yeah.
again, is it cash flow positive? I mean, people don't want to take on a negative appreciating asset, not necessarily the value of the home, but losing money, right?
Hmm.
Monthly. So if you can't afford to come up with, like, for example, we looked at buying a house about a year, another house after a year after we purchased the first, and we couldn't find anything that was cash flow positive. I mean, everything was quite negative.
because of the
At
rates.
minimum,
Yeah.
at minimum $500 at minimum a month, right?
Yeah.
It's like, do you really want to invest something? You're losing 500 every single month, and who knows if it's going to appreciate enough to offset that.
Right.
And as it come to find out, it did not. Nothing has appreciated to the point where it offset that. So
Not
again,
yet.
What are you
in
guys' thoughts? Oh, go
in
ahead.
my in my opinion, you should cash flow positive in certain areas.
What about the Airbnb as an option? Using technology as a lever.
I would say Airbnb is something I'm very intrigued by.
I'm about to
I
try
have
it.
not
I'm about to try
okay.
it soon.
I haven't personally done it yet. I am intrigued by it. You know, now I would say it's one of the more, it's not as risky as flipping, but it's probably close to there because you're going to have generally, when you do an Airbnb, you're going to have a significant overhead in remodeling it and then furnish it. And then you know, you're dependent on if people are booking, and so you have to create a profile and get your bookings up and get your ratings up.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of work there, but I'm am intrigued by it because heck, you could own a second home. I could, you know, a couple times a year, you know, have a place that's my second home and then Airbnb it the rest of the time. You know, that's pretty attractive. There are times when people are making a killing doing it, and then, you know, there are some horror stories where like a city of Palm Springs says, oh, now you have to get a license to do it. Same thing with Anaheim in 2017. They oh, now you have to have, because Disney was losing all this revenue from, you know, so you do, that's why I say it's a little risky, is because there's some stuff out of your control that could affect, you know, people bookings and
Yeah.
but I'm definitely intrigued by it. I would try it. I
I'll
would.
report back. Furniture
Please.
Well-
already paid for. I'm sitting in it right now. And then moving into the house next door, which, by the way, everything doubled since I bought. In 3 years, the mortgages doubled over there and the
Dang.
price doubled.
Yep,
Dang.
and the mortgage rate. So
Frick.
I would just add to what you said, Joey, demand and competition. If I were going to look at buying an Airbnb, I would track on Airbnb for a while, pick an area, how many houses are there 2 months out, and then say 2 weeks out.
That's smart.
How many houses are there, right? If they're all gone, you know you got a good location.
Yeah.
If there's still an abundance of houses for rent, I know it's not rent,
Yeah.
but rent,
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
available. Yeah.
right? Then
Supply demand, brother. Yep.
right,
Yep.
and that's not an area I want to be in. Even if
Now-
I'm going to invest substantial dollars to make it attractive, I still don't want to be in that area.
I've been doing
Now,
it
let me
and it
ask you
maps
guys-
out
oh.
so far, but that's mainly because of the supply side. There's not as many, and the ones that are there are not as good as what this would be. And I've heard
Good.
anecdotally from people that wishing that there were better options. So when I heard
Dude.
that, I was like, well, you know, I don't want to. This you will own nothing and be happy. Really, like stuck with me. Like I need to find ways to park my money someplace that's gonna grow. And
Yeah, own something that other people can't be happy about.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the new revolution.
right?
I think that's the yeah. That's the way
Let
to
me
go.
ask you guys this. Are you like, no, so we and actually, Dan, you bought out of state a while before
My first
we
house
have.
was out of state. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this last purchase we just did 2.5 years ago. Okay, so we bought out of the state. I mean, how do we, you know, I'll answer last, but how are we feeling about that purchase? Like, no, you know, obviously we're a little bit concerned. We, you know, we didn't know too many people out there. You know, we had some concerns. We obviously did our research. Like, looking back now, how are like, yeah, how do you feel about that investment, and would you continue buying out of state?
So I've learned from buying in Texas, something that I will keep in mind for future investments out of state. but we've been hit with some expenses that I did not expect, um, that are out of our control, and even the companies that are providing the insurance, right? The insurance has gone up
Yeah.
Immensely. And,
Yep.
and Texas and Florida primarily have been hit by this. California, it's coming too, from what I've read.
Yep.
Um,
What my mortgage
so
person told me also.
yeah, so invest in a state where you can count on your future expenses. That would be my word of advice. So yes, I mean, California's blue, Texas and Florida are red, but there are still things that you have to consider. So like tornadoes and
Yeah.
golf ball sized hail, those kind of
Right.
things. Or according to my sister, softball sized hail in Texas. So yeah, there's going to be costs associated with the insurance. Um, so yeah, if it's unpredictable, it's maybe not a good place to invest.
Okay. Would you continue buying out of state?
Yes, but like I said, I don't think I would invest in Florida and Texas. Matter of fact, I just saw an article the other day that BlackRock's looking to sell most, if not all, of their properties in Florida.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Bubble might be bursting in Florida and maybe everywhere. Irrespective of bubble bursting, I think the strategy is to buy as often as you can and
Yeah.
to dollar cost average. So try to be as consistent as you can. A house a year, a couple houses a year. Just try to be the same, just like S&P 500.
Mm,
Um, as long as you are cash flow positive, there are times where I will personally buy things if I'm cash flow negative, only if I could afford carrying both of those mortgages
right.
indefinitely, which is fortunately the case for me with these two, but not sure I could do a third one that way. At least not right now. Um, I love it. I think the insurance unpredictability, that's fine, but I think that ultimately gets translated back into the rents.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned about any of that stuff. Um, yeah, my biggest concern is managing the bookkeeping, the little
Mm,
things. Like you guys carry a lot of that. So I know for my own properties that I don't partner with anyone else, it could get challenging.
I
Even to
agree.
remember who your insurance vendor is. Like
Seriously.
sometimes I have to search my emails to like even
Me
remember
too.
like what
Every
what
single
vendors
one
for
I have
what.
to do that too.
So that's the only part, but that's not really a framework like you should worry about. You can just automate that. So no, yeah, I love what we did there. I would of course do it again. Um, in the same place. To me, Texas is great. The the market, the city itself, you got to look into like because real estate's local, so you got to look at job
Yeah, it
creation,
definitely is.
supply and demand, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Dallas is growing, hugely growing area. I think the whole Sun Belt is Florida
Yeah.
included, so I'm okay with all of it.
Yeah. And I would say, the other thing I think to tell everybody is like, we didn't just randomly buy a property in Texas. Like it did. We probably had 6, 7, 8 months of like, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we had a long period of time of just talking about it.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
what
we've
areas?
recorded
What?
some of them for
Yeah.
posterity's sake for the Chris and Dan show.
And then, we talked to several, realtors and vendors and loan officers, just, getting acclimated to that area. And then we pulled a bunch of numbers on, population, demographics, average income, what's the average rent for this size of property. So I feel like we did as much of homework as one could do
Yep.
before like transacting.
And
So
even you
and I
went
think
over
we
there in person
yeah.
and
And
saw it.
and actually I did. Yeah, and I would think that all of us would recommend like, hey, don't just jump in, don't read one book or listen to one podcast and then just go buy the first house you see on Zillow. No,
Right.
no, definitely don't do that because you want to be wise, right? You want to make a good purchase. And, we placed several offers before we got one that stuck. And I think we got a decent purchase at that time.
And then we
And
walked away from one, You know,
We
I don't know if it
did,
was
and we
with you. Was that
lost.
the one? We
Yeah,
walked away.
yeah, that
There was
one
a
was weird.
foundational
That's
issue or
right.
something.
Yeah.
Guys, there's another Zoom in 11 minutes, but I wanted to ask you guys this on the maybe it's appropriate for Chris and Dan show. If Trump wins and it's drill baby drill, which is what he said, you love
Yes,
that, right?
it's how he's gonna get us out of the national debt, according to him.
That's what he said. Drill baby
Yeah.
drill. North
Yeah.
Dakota, I have anecdotal evidence because I have a brother-in-law who goes there 6 months out of the year to lay fiber optic cable. They're preparing for a boom. You know, industries are going to be moving there. What do you guys think about investing in a place like that? Because it's still
In where?
North Dakota.
Oh, okay.
All the fracking industries, regulations going to pave the way for that industry to explode. All those people are seasonal workers for the most part. They need a place to live. Nobody wants to buy a house if they only live there half the year. And who wants to live in North Dakota? Like, no offense to anyone who does. It's probably a nice place, but what do you guys think about North Dakota?
I believe the same is true of New Mexico. A
Mm.
lot of fracking opportunity there. I believe it's New Mexico. I could be wrong, but what I would agree with you on is North Dakota is going to probably be 3 times cheaper, right, to invest in than New Mexico. The weather's not pleasant in North Dakota. I wouldn't live there.
Right. So does my brother-in-law says the same.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's
But
way too damn
but
cold.
but he is considering living there because the full-time job he'll make even more than
Sure.
what he does. And a lot of people are in that situation to where they will say, "Fuck it, I'm gonna move
Right.
there."
Yeah.
And if
So
people can live in
Would it be a
Chicago,
long
weather be
term though?
damned.
I mean, people live in Chicago and cold cities, all
Yeah,
over
In
but
the place.
Canada.
the cold in Chicago is entirely different than North Dakota, to my understanding.
I mean, I thought New York was cold when we went, so yeah.
I tend to
Southern
like to.
California. Sorry,
Yeah,
Joey.
yeah.
Yuma
I
in December.
I tend to. I feel like maybe like Austin kind of got bit by this a little bit. Like Tessa moved up there. Like there's a couple
Mm,
like one-offs, and then it maybe Tessa didn't fully move out there, and so maybe some of the demand was pulled back based or compared to what was expected. And so I feel like I tend to like to be more conservative and go into like already existing markets that I already know. Like if Tesla pulls out of Dallas, Dallas is ginormous. There's so much industries there that
right.
I'm going to be fine. Now I'm not going to have as much upside to like maybe this thing in North Dakota could really kick off and I
Right.
could triple my money in 3 years. That could happen.
Right.
But, I think I would be willing to do that later in my career.
Later, I see. I see.
Yeah, when I can afford, when the downsides, and I think that's how like really successful entrepreneurs do, they take bigger risks once the farm isn't at jeopardy.
I see.
And so they're still able to make big plays, but it's not jeopardizing the farm, you
I
know.
see.
So but maybe North Dakota, even if this thing with the fiber optics thing didn't work out, maybe the cash flow still makes sense there. So I don't want to say don't buy
That's
there,
what I
but
think. If the
yeah.
cash flow still makes sense and it doesn't really matter, and then it's just the
No,
upside of that.
you're right. Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
but just
Yeah.
because you brought up Chicago, so the coldest month for both is Chicago and Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yeah.
January is the coldest month for both. So the average low throughout the month of January for Chicago is 22 degrees. The average high is 32. So that's cold.
Okay.
Bismarck, North Dakota, average low is -1 degree. Average high is 21 degrees.
Brutal.
Yeah. So
So
the
an
average high
average
is
day.
average high is lower than the average high or low, right?
Oh
Average
wow.
high in North Dakota is lower than the average low in Chicago.
I mean, to me personally, New Mexico sounds a lot better.
Yeah,
But
me too. Me too. Feel the heat a lot better than cold for me personally.
me too. But just an idea of the drill baby drill, what Joey loves. Okay,
But
guys.
I think, as I know we're wrapping up here, I think one of the best things I think for me, and maybe you guys might have a different one than I do, but that helped me feel a little bit more comfortable was I spoke to several realtors. And one of them was like a referral to someone that knew this realtor that could help me. Now I'm a realtor myself, so I was able to kind of speak the language a little bit to someone out there that is works with investors and sells a bunch of homes and is familiar with the area, and they can kind of help guide me on how long does it take to re-rent a property, are there multiple that kind of stuff, to get a little bit of information there, that you just need to talk to somebody that has experience there. So I would say, and that's free. Realtors aren't going to charge you to have that conversation. So I would say that's one of the first things that I would suggest doing if you're interested in buying out of state. And then in the background, obviously look at Zillow and on what's coming up for sale in areas that you're, thinking about. But I don't know if anything like that helped you guys feel a little bit more comfortable about buying out of state.
So Shelby's been great. I forget her
Yeah.
last name. What's her
Yeah.
last name? Give her a
Lake.
plug.
I
I
don't know
believe
how
it's
to
Lake.
pronounce her last name, but actually I just spoke to her today.
Yeah, Shelby's been great. She's very helpful. She
It's
takes care of
I'll tell
all
you right
kinds.
now.
She
Her
takes
name
care of
is
all. She takes care of all kinds of things for us.
Shout out to
Shelby
Shelby.
Lisk, Liske.
I was
Yeah.
close. I
We'll
said
put it
Lake.
in the
So
chat box below.
Yeah.
So if
Contact
you're looking
Shelby.
at buying, if you're looking at buying something in the Dallas area,
Yeah. We've
strongly
used her
recommend
several
her.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Just reach
Yeah.
out to us and we'll put you in touch.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
That's right.
guys, we gotta do it again. It's a blast. Um, just thinking some of
Make
these.
buying real estate out of state great again.
Ah, very
Yeah,
nice.
it's never not been great, I don't think, but maybe it's not that popular right now, which
For some reason, what is that? MBOAGA, not as catchy as just MEGA. Just not.
yeah,
True.
good point. Drill baby drill is close though.
Yeah. Great.
Chris and Dan, Joey's links underneath. Like, subscribe, comment, share.
Bye bye.
Bye.